Let's take a few moments to just to feel the body and relax if you need to. We have all of you are not first timers, so you have practiced before. So I'm not going to, in this session, I'm not going to explain things in a gradual fashion, but take more mature perspective. So you can relax if you need to. And at the same time, we are already connected. All beings are connected, and we are connected with all beings. So the Bodhicitta aspect is already there. One interesting thing which I would assume you've had interesting notion before is that when we recognize our basic state, and especially when we have significant discoveries, booming events, awakening experiences, is that we feel very soft in the body. We feel very natural, light, the opposite of feeling heavy or burdened, but also very soft. And especially when we, our energy shifts, then we feel that softness for a moment, for a short while, because of that shift, because we can compare how it was before and after the energetical shift. But just like with everything, when we establish ourselves, then we don't feel the softness anymore. But at the same time, when we establish ourselves in basic state, there is also no confusion of any kind. And when I say any kind, it can happen momentarily, but ultimately only when we attain light body, which means both wisdom of the mind and thorough healing and opening of the meridian system that connects with the physical body. But that softness, when you have that sensation, it's a good sign. It's a sign that our practice is correct, our recognition is correct, and our bodhicitta is correct. heart mind, the so-called heart mind of enlightenment, or bodhicitta, it covers everything there is to our bodies and minds, both subtle bodies and the physical body. Already connected with all beings, with our nadi system that connects with meridians, that connects with cells of the physical body. Metals. It is always, we are practicing in a very simple way, a very simple topic, bodhicitta, although there's lots of depth in it. But anybody can start practicing bodhicitta and feel the energy of it. And then when mind gets clearer and the body system gets clearer, more depth is revealed of something as simple as bodhicitta. But also understanding a couple of things. One, that there is always an energetical element to practice, that it's not only some prayers or mantras that we are saying or reciting, but that there's energy always. Knowing to work with energy, connect with it, feel it, absorb it, disappear in it. Let one's habit patterns and pains disappear in it. That's one. And the second is knowing some little handy things so knowing little handy things that we can use to, let's say, enhance our experience. Technical details that we can use to enhance. And I already said them. I spoke about nadis, the whole bhumi terrain, thinner of the, if we speak in terms of density, it's thinner, lighter energy body. And then the grosser energy body, meridians. And that meridians connect with cells of the physical body. Our organs and the whole physical organism, bones, everything is made of cells. So that's the whole continuum. And we need to work and understand that whole continuum to reach full, complete, perfect enlightenment or light body. And one thing that is very important is to understand that it is possible to every one of us, if we have the know-how, the tools, the understanding, guidance, blessings, support, it is possible. If any one of those requiring bits is missing, then it gets instantly more difficult. But basically, at simplest, light body becomes close to us and available to us if we cultivate bodhicitta correctly. Isn't that amazing? And that softness, what is that softness? Many of you have joined so many teachings and workshops that I've given over the years that you've heard me teach about the basic principles many times. But that softness, when it's very visceral, very physical, which of course is signifies that we are working with meridians and cells of the body also. That softness is our basic state, found and recognized in the meridians and physical cells. It's as if we found, when you walk into a healthy forest, it brims with life. There is aliveness. It's so much aliveness in a healthy forest. When our energy shifts and we feel that softness, it is like discovering that healthy forest-like aliveness in each one of our trillions of cells. That in each one of our cells there is a healthy forest. brims with life, radiates light, radiates pure energy. And one interesting point, a necessary point to make, because so many get into trouble with this, but when we are working with our natural state, when we are working with the purity of our being, instead of our habits and patterns that have grown on the notion of self and psychic injury or trauma. When we are working with our pure being, we cannot be swept away by its bliss. We cannot get drunk by its bliss. It's a very sober experience, but also subtly blissful. There is little honey in there. Good, sweet, high quality honey. But it is not drunkening. And that's also when we recognize the aliveness, that softness, playfulness, joyfulness of the basic state in this way, whether we spend a minute in that recognition or 15 minutes or more, there is so much healing power, so much power that liberates stuck energies and misconceptions too. Stuck energies liberates energies, liberates misconceptions. And that's an interesting point about esoteric or tantric practice, that we work with energy, and we have energy means like non-conceptual. We work with sensation. We feel, we sense energies, so we work with sensations, which is non-conceptual. Though we can conceptualize it also, of course. That's what I do when I teach, right? But when we work with energies in non-conceptual way, it changes, gives us insights on the level of concepts in conceptual mind as well. And this is, of course, working primarily through conceptual mind is used in, well, it is the main way of receiving teachings, and, well, main way of receiving teachings in sutra, non-tantric traditions. Rainforest. In each cell of the body. Rainforest. So much life, so much energy. So much moisture, which makes it all fertile. And there are photographs taken of a cell and inside a cell. It's amazing what is contained in one single cell. Amazing. though we don't need to have so advanced or so honed skills of concentration or samadhi that we could probe into a single cell with our attention, although it is probably possible. It is amazing what can be done with human attention, human concentration. Absolutely amazing. I've had some experiences regarding that myself, but it is not necessary. It's yogic stuff that we might have some experiences throughout our paths, especially if there are periods in our life when we meditate more, like several hours, from 4 hours up in our daily life. We start having such experiences. But what is, all kinds of experiences of clairvoyance and being able to use concentration in very, extraordinary ways that people usually can't do. This has been given so much space in literature, spiritual, yogic, meditative literature, that it's time to stop that. Time to stop putting the attention to secondary things. And those things are far second to our basic nature. It's our basic nature that liberates our confusions, heals us. And this should be given primary importance. But it is not that exciting. You can't make a enchanting, fantastical story out of the basic state. Well, in a way, maybe you can, telling a life story of an enlightened master. But people always tend to get excited and distracted by something that, ruokkii mielikuvitusta, that feeds imagination. Those secondary things. This might be the very point which prevents from true Dharma, true teaching of reality and enlightenment from becoming truly mainstream. Because samsaric minds prefer to get attached to, get distracted by fantastical stories. That's why Yogananda's autobiography is still a bestseller. I haven't even gotten a goddamn book deal, having explained almost the whole path in my books. Because there's no story, there's no enchanting stuff in there, fascinating stuff in there. But I think that the experience of the basic state and becoming liberated, little liberated through our regular practice, daily practice, when sitting among activities, those little liberations, shifts, and then of course, important milestones, getting to purify all the nadis, perfecting the 10 bhumis, and also little by little purifying the meridians. It's so much better than any story. It's so much better. It's like becoming a rainforest. Healthy, big rainforest that there's pure light, there's pure energy, healthy ground. No longer a ill ground, but healthy ground. That sounds so good, doesn't it? Healthy ground. Samsaric beings have ill ground or diseased ground. Well, that's actually a bit problematic if we think that term from that description from the perspective of especially Ati Yoga teachings, which says that the basic state is the ground. But let's not think in that context. But what I mean by diseased ground is that trauma in the system. So you're scared and anxious a lot for no reason in situations that are perfectly fine and safe. That ground is nervous. And of course, dualistic confusion worsens it. In Vajrayana Buddhism, there is a lot of emphasis on, in all of Buddhism, there is an emphasis on the so-called view, which means a theoretical view of Dharma and practice. But there is also something called practice, practicing the pure view, practicing pure view, or applying the pure view, which means that, we can shift in our own body and mind, we can shift our energy from traumatized self-based to basic state, where there is no notion of small self and you feel very soft and free. We can make that shift, right? Exercising the pure view is that you see, you recognize that pure being in other people, in animals, in all living things and places. We actually did a little bit of this pure view practice on this past autumn retreat, but I didn't say that it was pure view practice. I didn't even think that it was pure view, but here's what we did. So we are already connected with all sentient beings, but the teaching says that all sentient beings have awakened pure nature, which means that all beings, all people, and all places, there is Buddha nature, pure nature. Perceive that instead of perceiving samsaric beings and places. So you're not surrounded by people close to you in houses and buildings and villages and cities who are samsaric, but you're surrounded by Buddhas, lots of them, and there's lots of blessings radiating from them, all around them, including to you. Pure perception. So all people around us have Buddha nature and we can perceive them as Buddhas. All places are not, we can see as pure lands instead of ordinary samsaric places. And if we practice this, of course we can, sooner or later we will naturally do it, I think. But then when we start thinking those who have been difficult to us, and we have been perhaps hurt by certain individuals at whatever point in our lives or stage in our lives, we might suddenly, when we think that person with pure perception, we might see that in the place of your parent or a relative or somebody who you've been traumatized by, you suddenly see them as Buddha archetypes. You see Manjushri Bodhisattva in the place of your father who was needlessly harsh for you or hard for you, for example. You see Dharma kings and queens, people who were demanding or total assholes towards you at some stage. You actually perceive these Buddha archetypes from these people, from the very people who gave you so much hardship. That's just a vision I'm describing. What is most important is that suddenly you might think of somebody who caused you harm, and you no longer, that moment you don't perceive that person as the person who hurt you, but the person who radiates immense blessings, really powerful blessings towards you, and that hurtful connection or memory doesn't obstruct anymore. And this, when we come to that experience, it heals the connection between oneself and, is perpetrator the word? Somebody who hurt you? Yeah. That's getting healed, getting liberated in the most thorough way. Most thorough. And we always want to get to the bottom of it, to the bottom of it, not to certain depths without reaching the bottom, but to the very bottom of it, to the root of it, to dig the root out. Throughout centuries, throughout long periods of time, Mahasiddhas have been saying that it is very difficult to accomplish this, to get to the bottom and uproot all confusion and suffering through non-tantric practices, through sutrayana, through vehicle that is sutric. Why? Because in the words of very influential modern Sutrayana teacher, Culadasa, he said after 45 or 50 years of in-depth study and him being a very respected, widely respected Dharma teacher himself, he said 1 or 2 years before he passed away that Sutrayana doesn't go far enough. After 45-50 years of dedicated practice. But we want to get to the bottom of it. And energy work gives Tantra, Mantrayana, Tantrayana gives tools for it. You're not trying to make it all works through concepts, with the help of concepts going to the inconceptual experience and then trying to fit that to concepts back. It doesn't work like that in Tantra. So the energy gives you the the energy is the vehicle that takes you for a ride, and that ride doesn't have limitations in terms of access in the body-mind. That's the thing. Unlimited access. And that unlimited access is because of Guru and empowerments and pointers. Pointers are pointing out instructions, pointing out how the nature of mind is, pointing it out, describing it, explaining it. That is empowerment, a form of empowerment. Isn't it? Deeply empowering. That's the purpose of tantric masters, gurus, and lineages, passing the torch from one generation to the next. And sometimes, when the light has dimmed, the torch has gone out, bringing the light back, starting new lineages, new traditions, which is what we do. So when we recognize the pure being inside us and inside everybody and everything, then we just soak in that experience, in that energy, with time. This is the thing, we need to give it time. We can't just hear or read or learn the instructions or the pointers, but we need to spend time in meditation, soaking up. Meditation is not best word, but in this context, but it's active energy work where we are paying attention to the energetics, not doing other things. So being physically passive and just doing the energy work. And making time for it, finding time in our daily life to do this. Liberating ourselves, our minds and bodies from samsara, from cyclical existence, from cyclical confusion, for the sake of all beings. for the sake of Dharma of reality and liberation itself, for the sake of basic nature itself, may all the knots and dirt and imprints from our meridians be liberated. May the imprints and dents from the meridians that have been transmitted to physical cells and physical tissues, for the sake of natural liberation, liberation of all beings, be released, be liberated. is essential that your heart's in it, that your commitment is there, that your devotion is there. It is important that this whole thing is important to you. When something is important to us, our heart is in it, our energy is involved. But don't be hard on yourself if that's what you struggle with. Give it time. Give it time. Actually, what you can do, what we can do together to bring our heart, to bring our heart energy as a kind of like an engine of this whole thing, is to bring your attention gently in the middle of your chest, inside your chest, to your heart center. Inside heart, inside head, inside the belly, there are, in technical terms, these Mahasiddha chakras, Mahasiddha bhumis, special centers that always remain pure. Don't start focusing on the heart with limited focus, but just kind of have a light, gently feeling the space, feeling the center inside the chest, and in that way letting the energy of the heart become engaged, become active and engaged. Oh, this was a good thing to do for us. Cheers, Norman. Blessings. These three that I mentioned, in the head, in the heart, in the belly, are very widely known in the history of cultivation, especially in China and in Japan. They are known as dantians or tandens. Tanden is Japanese, dantian Chinese. I've learned about them from my Zen teachers and Zen masters, including Terayama Roshi, but also from my Mahasiddha gurus. These centers are given emphasis in Vimalamitra's teachings. I haven't given them in many years, but anyway. Other than that, I do not know if these Mahasiddha bhumis inside the body, Mahasiddha chakras, are known in Tibetan Buddhism. Maybe they are. But one way to recognize the basic state and the basic aspects of the basic state is through these three areas. But the thing is that my observation is that, there are many people practicing Taoist yogas, Buddhist yogas, Zen Buddhism and all that, but they don't really practice it in a correct way. They don't access the basic state from these special centers, which is their main gift, great possibility. These areas are not for gathering energy there, prana, chi. They are already in state of completeness. And if you connect to that place of completeness correctly, without putting too much concentration there, then it will open up like if you think of a garden of flowers. We have Ben here, who is an eager botanist, so you will appreciate this analogy. But if you think of a garden of flowers, and first all these flowers are in bud, and suddenly they all open up in a matter of moments. That's how it feels like to open these dantians. It's the natural state opening through these places, through these doorways. Now that I mentioned Taoism briefly, there is a really popular concept called Wu Wei in Taoism, which means non-doing. But I think that what Taoist Mahasiddhas, who I've spoken pretty extensively about and given practices of the 8 Immortals and so on, I think that the Wu Wei or non-doing of Taoist masters is very different from the Wu Wei idealism of fans of Taoism, of non-practitioners. And this applies to Advaita Vedanta on the Hindu side. This applies to lots of fans of Zen Buddhism, even fans of Mahamudra and Dzogchen of Tibet. Both of which actually originally came from India. But so everywhere there are people who become fans of non-meditation, non-doing, not needing to do anything, no need for practice, no need for stages, no need for enlightenment. No, it's a long list of no's. But the thing is that if your subtle bodies aren't completely open and active, instead of being closed and passive, that long list of no's, long list of non-doing, non-meditating, no stages, no attainments, is nothing but nonsense, utter rubbish. That's the difference. That's the real Wu Wei, non-doing. That's the real attainment of non-meditation. Non-meditation is a technical term from Mahamudra system. Mahamudra is parallel to Dzogchen or Mahasandhi, Great Perfection teachings. Parallel. We can glimpse non-meditation, which is like a Vajrayana version of cessation. I spoke about cessations on this autumn retreat. We can access it. State of non-meditation, which means the awakened state, our Buddha nature. But if there is claim that no stages, no experiences, not even awakening or enlightenment is needed, then that requires that the whole body and mind is radiating like a flower garden, is in bloom like a flower garden. You know, practicing Guru Yoga with Taoist masters such as the 8 Immortals, or Du Xinlin, who was a Taoist sage who left his body in 1987 or 88 in Beijing without any physical remains in front of 100 or so people, including communist officials. Their systems are completely open and completely active. Not in a dormant state. So, flower garden, blooming flower garden in the heart. And accessing that flower garden by gently putting attention there in the heart, very gently. Just kind of letting that going through that doorway of the heart center, heart dantean, very lightly, not rushing in through that doorway, not forcing in through that doorway. Same thing, when you have flower in a bud, you can't force it open. It will open up when the conditions are right. Odota Metta, odota. Odota Metta. The most impatient dog here, puppy dog. How does the heart center being open like this, how does it make you feel in terms of satisfaction? Satisfied, nourished, well fed, or not? I used all those flower garden analogies and so on, and Ben is shaking his head. But I think you're joking. Are you joking? No. Oh, God damn it. Feel it from me. Feel my body as if it was your own body. You know, when at school, if you have hard time understanding a mathematical equation, the teachers tells you that, okay, stay for 5 minutes after the class, or come after the school for half an hour and I'll explain it to you. What do you call that? It's called tukiopetus in Finnish. But you must have a term for that in English too. So this is kind of like that. Ben, I'm showing you. This goes here, this works like that. Alright, folks, please open your eyes. Move, stretch. Let's take a little break before continuing. Move. Flex, stretch. Okay, it's now 37, so 37. Let's continue 55. Time to go to toilet and make fresh cup of tea. Continue 55. See you in a bit. So we're in the middle of this exercise, and after this brief break, let's continue. So we have gone through all kinds of things in this session. Let's continue where we left off. Flower garden from the heart dantean, and then we'll go through at least the other two dantians, gut and head. But we might have time to connect with the fourth dantian, far down and high above. Connect all these four. So the logic is that the Mahasiddha Bhumi centers 5-6 meters below the pelvic floor and 5-6 meters above the crown are the same. That's the fourth dantian. So 1, 2, 3, gut, heart, head, and fourth at both ends of the pillar. But like I said, continue with the heart. So, just like with any practice, what comes in the beginning is energetical sensations. When we shift, the earlier we are on our path, the shift into the natural state will be, it's like a high threshold. But as days go by on retreat, or as moments go by in this evening session like this, those energetical events become less. And what is left is basic state recognized, really lovely, sober head, clear like a diamond. And it is not correct to say, it is completely incorrect to say. This is something that when people don't really understand the basic state or Buddha nature or just sitting, Sikantaza of Zen tradition, this is the mistake they always make. They say that it is like a vast open state. But it is not vast open state. It is not three-dimensional, expanding, having expanded to far extent. It is not like that. So the vastness of it, the space is empty. And because empty means that there's no self in it, no self entity, and that liberates us from the three-dimensional space, liberates us into zero-dimensional space. That's the heart and soul of Buddhas and Mahasittas. So this mental sobriety, mental clarity is completely selfless, me-less, I-less, entity-less. And because of that, it is natural. Natural. I was talking about the rainforest and forests. Any blade of grass, any bush, any tree, any single leaf on a tree is in this state. A leaf doesn't have the psychology and therefore doesn't have the capacity to start conceptualizing in terms of self and other, but it doesn't matter. All nature is selfless in that way. That's why people feel so much relief when they go to nature, even get healed when they go to nature. So, flower garden in bloom, that's the aliveness, joyfulness, singing of the Buddhas, dancing of the Buddhas, celebrating of the Buddhas. I should maybe start using some other. I always only speak of Buddhas and Mahasittas. But there are so many different terms for this, like Mahatmas or Bhagavans. So that's the heart. Quality of the heart. Love also. Love. Love is magnetic. Love is magnetic. It means that there is attraction there. Energy that attracts. Has like glue, sort of like energy that has the quality of glue. It glues things together. When we meditate love, isn't it that it glues our broken bits and pieces together? It heals. When we fall in love with somebody, before our heart gets broken, we feel so good when falling in love, because there's so much healing power. But this love of the basic state, is not blind and stupid. When we fall in love as teenagers, we become fools in love, total fools. Some leave their homes, their mothers and fathers, because they fall in love with somebody and they run away. So what happens sometimes in romantic love, no problem with romantic love, but the difference with love that is innate in us is that there is at the same time mind is clear. Mind rests in clarity. Mind remains sober. Doesn't get intoxicated and misled by this stupid love. That love of the basic state has clarity of the clearest diamond. I'm describing with all this soberness, clarity, I'm describing the center in the head, the dantean in the head. You can gently, lightly bring your attention to the space inside the head, in the center of the head, that is about the size of your fist. If you start thinking of physical organs in the head, brain and different parts of the brain and spine and all that, it is, what is the word, coexists, cohabits the same space, as do the nadis, meridians, bhumi chakras. And that's the challenge. I was referring to how few Taoist or Buddhist practitioners I've seen cultivate dantians correctly. That's the thing. You need to find the exact frequency, the exact vibratory rate. And to do that, to get it exactly right, is why transmission, empowerment has such an important role in esoteric traditions. Because it's so difficult to get the frequency right on one's own. Tune in with me, folks. Sit with me. Feel me with you. See the difference? Do you? Shake your head, nod your head. Yeah. How is that clarity like? The first way for me to describe that clarity is that it is grounded. It is completely grounded. It is not some detached, loosely physical thing. It is very physical, very grounded to the body, very embodied. Doesn't give you headaches. That's the thing. That's very important thing. So many people who work with all kinds of kundalinis and pranas, and they get headaches, migraines. But if you have the frequency rate is correct, you will not get headaches. Except momentarily you can have. If something opens up, some tissue has been stuck physically, or some energy has been stuck or tied energetically, when it opens up, you can momentarily have some aches or pains, but not lasting problems. That's actually the main difference between esoteric quackery and esoteric, how to say, professionalism. So many people who work with energy transmissions and so on that are questionable have problems with energies and kundalinis and whatnot. But they always have problems with prana, never with the actual kundalini shakti, always with prana, which is grosser energy than pure spiritual energy. All right, let's connect head with heart. Diamond, bring the diamond into the middle of flower garden. Head and heart together. Blooming flowers made of jewel. Sound familiar? Different colors of flowers made of jewel. Light dancing in those color jewels. So much love, so much joy too, but it is completely, how to say, imbued? Is that the word, imbued? Completely full of clarity, marked by clarity, and completely grounded. It is not fool in love or crazy love. Having clarity means having a discernment. Discernment is very important in Dharma and Yoga. Manjushri and Manjushri's sword. The diamond is clear, so it reflects when it receives and transmits light. The light doesn't get distorted or dirtied. That means that when you have some difficulties, situations in life, your mind, in common terms, you remain objective. So it becomes possible for you to solve problems instead of get carried away by this is difficult, this is hard, this is whatever. All right, let's take the elevator one step down from the heart to the belly of the Buddha. Again, fist size, immediately behind your navel. So you have the surface of the back and surface of the belly. And the center is there in the middle of that space. So at the center, lightly put your attention there. again, one will miss a lot of things of meditations and yogic practices if the concentration is too much pressure in there. And to avoid misunderstanding, we do dynamic concentration where there is maximum pressure, but that is only for very short moments, very short bursts. But when we are doing like a sustained concentration, then if you apply too much pressure, you will miss all the details. You will not be able to perceive what is available to you. So that's why I say that put your attention there lightly, gently. Not squeeze, not pushing, not pressure. Just a little bit. And then, like I said earlier, with head and heart, then you get to go through the doorway. If there is too much pressure, you will not even see the door there. You will miss the dantean. Dantean, it could be translated as field of precious substance. The literal translation is cinnabar field, but it makes more sense if I say that field of precious substance. Substance is also not the best choice of words. But anyway. So here it is again. So many people completely miss that precious field if they are drilling with their concentration, or if they do something completely irrelevant, which is to start accumulating, packing breath energy, prana, in the gut. I did that thousands of hours, and it is useless. You get this very special, I guess it can be useful from the perspective of healing one's masculinity. Like if one suffers of discovering healthy masculinity, but at the same time, lots of folks, male practitioners, develop into toxic masculinity because it goes too far. You get a sense of power when you start packing, gross power when you start packing prana into the gut. And in my experience, that's useless. Irrelevant in the context of knowing yourself as a Buddha, as a fully enlightened being, and becoming one. But this is very useful. When you get the frequency right, frequency rate is correct, then you access the field of treasures, field of precious treasures. Precious treasures. Difficult for me to say. So when you practice like this, you're instantly freed from all kinds of potholes and foxholes and pitfalls that many practitioners in different systems fall into. So, groundedness, isn't it? The main characteristic. But at the same time, that groundedness, I will sometimes use the term bedrock peacefulness. This bedrock peacefulness is not eristäytynyt tai erillään, is not well, it's not separate from these other qualities of heart and head. Very much love, aliveness, and clarity is in that groundedness. That groundedness is alive in clear way. I have a practice tip for you. I was mentioning 8 Immortals. You can find a Wikipedia page of 8 Immortals, list of 8 great Taoist masters, Mahasiddhas, Immortals. And there's also, for example, like I already mentioned, Du Xinlin, who attained full rainbow body in 1988 in Beijing. You can practice Guru Yoga, you can tune in with any of those and compare what I am transmitting to you in this session. Compare. Compare their belly, their heart, their head. That's an interesting meditative study for you. All right, let's make connection with gut, heart and head, all 3 together. It's such a beautiful meal, scent, perfume. That is revealed. And this is in all people. All people have dantians, these secret centers. What a pity that most people don't have no clue about them. What a pity that those who do know cultivate them wrongly and do not get the great benefits of it. May the mistakes be corrected for the sake of all beings, for the sake of practitioners. All right, we still have 20 minutes to go, which makes it quite tight to go connect with the fourth dantian properly. Well, maybe we can if necessary, because I don't want to do it too abruptly. So if you have to go at in 20 minutes, you can leave the session. I won't mind, but we might be a little late. Let's see. All right, so you have the three areas connected in the area of the body. Let those three connect with the pillar below, extending with the fourth dantian, what we commonly call Mahasiddha Bhumis in Amrita Mandala, 5-6 meters below the pelvic floor. You can just let that connection happen spontaneously, which is easy to do if you've connected the Bhumi pillar many times in your practice over months and years. What happens there? What happens with this? I know very little of engines, as in engines of cars, for example, but it's kind of like an analogy that is easy for everybody to understand, even if you know as little of engines as I do. But when you have a normal engine in a car, it has certain power, certain ability. But if you put a turbo engine into the same car, it becomes more efficient in terms of producing power. Isn't it? It's the turbo of our subtle body. Same characteristics. Diamond, flower garden, groundedness, but it's kind of like it's no longer running on a small battery, but hooked up into a power station. And then let's connect the other half of the fourth dantian without losing the connection below the body, without losing the three in the body. Connect with the fourth dantian, Mahasiddha Bhumi is above the head. And like this, as both, how do you say, I wouldn't want to say both, well, both ends, it's better than both extremes. Both ends get connected to that power station. And in this way, our whole nadi system, meridian system, and body made of cells is connected to the basic state. Through these energetic tools. Through the subtle body that all people have. And how does it make us feel? How does it make us think? In what kind of concepts we express ourselves when we know ourselves in this way? What's the first thought that comes to your mind? May all beings be free. May all beings be liberated into their basic nature. May all beings be happy and healed. May all beings know themselves. Something along these lines. So when we tap into our, we aim for momentarily fully activating our subtle body in its pure state. We aim for that. But whether it activates in full or partially, what happens over time is that because of our habits and patterns and traumas, at some point connection of the full subtle body begins to disconnect, and we also get tired because of doing practice like this or any tantric practice. We get tired because our system cannot sustain the full charge because of its intensity and power longer than it does. So this always sets limits to practitioners, to samsaric beings. But this capacity little by little increases over time. We can just sustain it, reveal it more fully than before, and fully and more, and in full power. We might start with 10% power. Capacity increases through practice to 20, 30, 40, 50. And little by little like that, we align with our basic nature. We align with it. We become. And that disalignment, habits and patterns falls off. That's a very simple description of the path, but that's basically how it happens. We become ourselves. But again, like I discussed the Wu Wei, non-doing and non-meditation, becoming ourselves in the context of Dharma, Yoga, Tantra means that our subtle body becomes completely active, fully active. So we can't remain in the context of yoga and enlightenment. We cannot remain in samsaric state that has marginal amount of energy and vitality compared to the enlightened state and claim that we are ourselves. This is also pretty common, like lots of teachers out there who are helping people, but there are limitations. So the subtle body needs to be completely active, fully tapped to really know ourselves. And earlier I was using the example of getting to the bottom of it all, and not only various depths. In this way, we really get to the bottom of ourselves. Let's sing one of our basic prayers. May all beings be free 3 times. Inhale. May all beings be free. May all beings be free. May all beings be free. I would like us to do a little bit of something to ward off to address tiredness of the body, and that is tapping. Tapping is one of the staple practices in our lineage. So internally chant, may all beings be free, while tapping gently with your fingertips, not slapping with open hand, tapping with your fingertips through the whole body for the next few minutes. Okay? So you're not tapping only the surface of the body, not only tapping the skin, but it's kind of like hitting a bell with your fingers. So when you tap with your fingertips, it makes the whole bowl, not a bell, but bowl. It makes the whole bowl vibrate. The whole bowl of your body or body part. Okay. Good. Sit with that for a moment before dedication of merit. Notice the difference. Fresher, reset, And then let's chant dedication. Inhale. May all beings receive my accumulated merit. I dedicate the merit to the refuge and to all sentient beings. Very good. Palm to palm. Expressing our sincerity and honesty, our attitude, by bowing our heads. So that was a wonderful session, wasn't it? But I spoke about danteans. I mentioned at one point Taoist Immortals, 8 Immortals. And I also mentioned Du Xin Lin. And I opened the Wikipedia page of 8 Immortals, who are called Ba Xian in Chinese. Ba Xian, 8 Immortals. And I also said at one point that you can make it a yogic study to check if the teachings and practices that I've given here are correct or not by meditating each one of the 8 immortals one by one. And as you are, I think Lu Dongbin is the most famous of the 8, Lu Dongbin. So for example, meditate, tune in carefully with your whole being into the presence of Lu Dongbin, and then check whether what I have taught in this session is in accordance to his presence and his energy or not. I have done that, and I know with certainty that it is. But I'm telling you about this meditative study because it is unacceptable to just believe things and take them as a face value, on face value, at face value. I'm always in trouble with the small words in English. But so yogis always need to check and recheck. It's a lovely group. There is I have my personal YouTube channel in YouTube that is secret. It's called Baba's Secret Channel. Well, I have some practice videos over the years I have posted there. And there I posted, it might be on Amrita Mandala channel also, but in the spring I had a lovely period of practicing with the 8 Immortals, including Du Xin Lin. Actually, last time when I was in Switzerland on spring retreat, I had wonderful sessions with Du Xin Lin, this Taoist master who passed away in the 80s in the high age of 116, I think. Last spring I had wonderful transmissions and sessions with the 8 Immortals, and there's one video clip on Baba's secret channel for the 8 Immortals. It's a simple mantra. Namo Ba Xian. Is it Namo Ba Xian Namo? Namo Ba Xian. You know, simple mantra to tune in with the group of 8 Immortals. Comments?
I feel I felt like I think I didn't feel quite well with positive positive qualities of these centers Mahasiddha chakras,
Mm?
danteans. I think that's because of last retreat. I haven't recovered. It seems, and since I'm on that tired end of spectrum, my emotional spectrum, I feel more of that um,
Oh,
trauma emotions, pure ones.
sorry, Maxim, the audio connection clipped. Can you repeat the last few sentences?
Yeah, I mean, I assume that it's because of tiredness from the last retreat that
Right, yeah, yeah.
I wasn't able, because I noticed when I'm tired, I feel mostly this stress reactions and trauma stuff going on, and I'm not able to like experience positive emotions, and not even related to Dharma practice, like anything.
Mm, mm.
It's
Yeah,
like my subconscious mind have some capacity for positive emotions,
yeah.
and once this capacity is exhausted, I'm like dull and dull at best. And so I have this kind of coping strategies to kind of save my positive emotions. For instance, be skeptical at most cases, like stuff like this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I was wondering about that when we started that. Just 2 days ago, we finished a pretty intense autumn retreat, and you and Olga are already back. So, but um, but it's good experience that also. And even if you didn't get uh, full benefit of the session now that we had it, still precious teachings and very valuable information to know for later practice. But I didn't yet comment it, but it was it Olga's comment today in Facebook Sangha where she was talking about having babies. So that's a little taste for you of having babies, because when you have babies, you're bloody exhausted all the time, and then you just have to do your practice anyway. So folks who don't have children don't really have no clue how tired you can be, with all respect, you know. But you know, myself also, I had my first child when I was 35, and yeah, I had no clue what being actually really exhausted and tired means. But then I got to know it pretty fast. Now I can laugh about it, but I was dead serious about it back then. Hmm.
But is it really useful with kind of practice? I mean, when you are exhausted.
Well, it depends. If your health is at risk, then it isn't. If health isn't at risk, then it has benefits. And the benefit is in coming out of your comfort zone to the zone of discomfort and becoming comfortable in the zone of discomfort. That's the potential benefit. This is what I was speaking on the retreat that, for example, Magic Labdron's basic advice of going to scary places. So it simply means getting out of your comfort zone so that your selfing comes up. This is done every day in like a in one of the main elements of Zen training in a Zen temple is that you wake up at 3 or 4 in the night, and then you go through the whole day until 9 or 10 in the evening, practice lots of meditation, do lots of raking in the garden and cooking in the kitchen and whatever. But it's a long day and it tires you up, no matter who you are. Well, if you are fully enlightened, then you aren't, but everyone in training gets tired. And that brings up the selfing so that you have material for practice. It's like a pretty widely used way of getting the selfing to the front. And when you're tired and you see the same faces of the same people one day to the next, and the guy next to you in the meditation hall farts all the time because he eats too much beans on lunch, and then at some point you start bubbling and get into arguments and fights with people, and that's how it is. Sharp stones in a bag, and then you shake the bag for the sharp stones to lose the edges. But also, it must be said that I've also seen that people take it too far, so their health is gets on the line because they don't sleep and they have this idealistic fantasy that not sleeping or sleeping in meditation posture upright would be beneficial, but it isn't if you can't deal with it. And it is lethal for people to go without sleep altogether. We people die if they don't sleep. But even if you get used to it, you have to be very advanced to be able to use it in a fruitful way. I'll just briefly mention that. There are stories I remember of Chinese or Korean Zen monks who didn't sleep and didn't eat, didn't just just ate like grass and mud. Some dumb idea of eating grass and mud, and well, they don't have hair, but their teeth fall out, and then it's practice for them. I knew a guy in Japan, a German monk who was so idealistic. Cheers, Luke. So idealistic about not sleeping that he peed on himself on many morning recitations, and he wasn't even aware that he peed himself because he was so out of it because he didn't sleep. So it's uh, it's hard for me to understand how that is a genuine, authentic practice. Huge desire, but huge desire is not enough.
So if I get into a total asshole, but my health is not at risk, it's okay, yeah?
Exactly right.
Thank you.
All right, ladies and gents, we are already half an hour over time. So thank you very much. Anybody remember the next satsang? When is it?
5th of November, no? Something like this.
What?
I'm not
5th of November?
remember, yeah.
November.
Second.
Just wanted to remind you that it will be 1 hour later, the start, in all the following open satsangs. 1 hour later. It will be corrected to Facebook and website. So thank you very much. It was a lovely session.
Thank you.
Thank you. Blessings. Sleep tight.
Bye bye.
Thank you, Papa. See you everyone.
See ya. Bye.